Hi, I'm Morgan Kulesa.
I'm Daniel Puntobuate.
My name is Ariel.
I'm Alex Krause.
Stephanie Richards.
My name is Rashawn Bennett.
My name is Vicky Mugeni.
I'm Gabriela Taveras.
Hi, my name is Tegan.
I'm Emerald.
And here I am, about to talk about my culture.
I'm from Kenya originally. I moved here from Kenya as a freshman, and I had to get used to Americans talking fast, but anyway, all that is good now.
I was born in the United States and was sent to Ghana when I was 10 years old. I stayed there for about 9 years and a half, and I returned in 2013. Life in Ghana was great. It was, I can't even say.
I'm from Jamaica. I came here at the age of 10. Yes.
I grew up in Bloomingdale, New Jersey, which is a small town about 40 minutes away from Seton Hall.
Alright, so I grew up in a lot of different places. I was born in Nigeria, and then I went to boarding school there for a while, and then we came to New York first, and then we lived in London for a couple years, and then we moved back here, and we lived in Jersey, and then we moved to Pennsylvania, and now I'm back in Jersey.
And we've been to Puerto Rico. My dad's family still lives there, so we've gone there a few times. And that culture is much different than how we live at home, so I don't think we necessarily assign to it.
I'm from the Dominican Republic, where I've lived up until recently, since I came to college. Coming here to the United States for university, I want to say that it was definitely a culture shock, although I was raised in a way, the American way, since my parents lived here in the United States for quite a few years. But I do want to say that it has been an interesting process adapting basically from a cultural standpoint. In the Dominican Republic, for instance, it is very normal for every type of household to have a cleaning lady, a cooking lady. So coming here, a place where something like that is not necessarily taken for granted, but something that is not necessarily expected, it was definitely a big change. So having to do all of my responsibilities by myself, it's not something that I was necessarily used to coming to college, from having, someone who could always resort to helping me out with this, to, oh my god, I am doing all of this by myself.
I've grown up with a single mother, so chores around the household have kind of been everyone's doing. When my little sister and I see a way we can help, we always just help. Because my mom works a full-time job and also is a mother, which is a full-time job also.
I'm a Ghanaian boy. We're expected to do chores. At home, I mean, if you ever find yourself in an African home, there are tons of chores for you to do. And if you don't do it, that's a big problem. You know, it's not an easy thing to deal with. You don't want to be in that position. If I come down to things like the expectations of me, yes, I'm expected to do very well. I mean, in school, I'm expected to make a name for myself, because when I go back home, I have an extended family looking to, see some good returns for my education here.
Ethnicity-wise, I'm half Asian and half white. In my home, my mom's culture definitely takes precedent over my dad's. My dad is the Caucasian one, my mom is the Asian one. There are a lot of chores in my house. Growing up, we were the ones that took care of the house. We didn't have the privilege of having house cleaners. It was me and my brothers.
Personally, at home, I grew up in a fairly affluent family. I didn't have that many chores. I got an allowance for not doing very much, to be honest. I don't have to take student debt out for going to college, which is, I'm one of the luckiest people in the world.
Okay, so in Jamaica, me and my grandma will always wake up on a Sunday and do clean the whole house. So and now me and my mom do that still, up here. So it would be sweeping the house, mopping the floors, doing laundry, cleaning the whole house, pretty much.
I think it's common knowledge that African culture is a bit more conservative. I have at home basically every night I wash the dishes. My mom says she can cook sometimes because I go to school and all. So when I come from school, there's usually a cooked meal. If there isn't, she instructs me, tells me to cook. And it's not something that's really arguable to her. It's more this is your responsibility. It's almost unsaid these days in my home that I need to cook if I need to cook. And washing the dishes is not it's not a conversation we even have anymore. I just start after I eat. Some of the chores I have, well, back home, when I was living back home, it would be kind of washing my own clothes, but here laundry is laundry, so that's great. But anyway, the enforcement, in my culture, enforcement of doing chores is, I think, it's very, I don't want to say forceful, but it's mandatory, it's obligatory, and it's not arguable.
Well, I would get yelled at, wouldn't get on punishment or anything like that. The way my household was, it was like we was expected to do chores, and it was ingrained to, it was like put into our heads that chores had to be done, so rarely would they not be done.
But at home, it's just, we just hang out, and I know I have a very good relationship with my family, especially my immediate family, because since we've moved around so much, and yeah, so it's been fun.
Yeah, so my parents were raised in a way where kids were only spoken when they're spoken, so I think that's kind of an African mentality. So my parents and I don't have like the friendliest relationship, but I definitely know that they have my back no matter what. My dad has 12 kids, and my mom has 4, so I always have a lot of people around. A lot of family. My cousins are very close. Aunts, uncles are like my parents. They treat me as such. So I don't know. I grew up with a whole lot of love, a whole lot of support around me. I think that's a very African thing. The village raises a child, not just your mom and dad. It's everybody at church, everybody at school. Everybody raises the kid.
Yeah, I mean, they're much less like stuck up, I guess, than we were. Like, as far as like maybe cleanliness or animals, like we have a dog and that's about it. And my mom doesn't let us wear shoes in the house, and the house has to be very neat. But when we go to Puerto Rico, a lot of the times there they just leave their doors open, and the animals will just come into the house. My grandparents have a farm, and they also kind of share the farm with their neighbors, so it's a lot more communal. Where at, like, you know, in my neighborhood, like, we know our neighbors and we're friendly, but we would never like share pets with them, I guess, and they just like wander in and out of the houses. And all the food is very fresh, but like they're not as like okay, they'll leave like milk on the table out, and that's not like considered like a bad thing to do there. Or eggs, like how we're like, oh, everything has to be refrigerated and washed. Like they're kind of like, oh, it'll be fine, and then they eat it. It was fine though, it wasn't. It actually, I kind of realized that maybe a lot of the things we do in the United States are a little more like rigid than they have to be.
Racially, my mom is very like open-minded. If I were to ever bring someone home that I was dating with like that had a different background than I was, my mom was like accepting them with open arms. It's never really been like a barrier in my life. In fact, it's kind of encouraged by my mom. She wants me to get out there and meet different kind of cultures and meet different people. And I think that's why she was so excited for me to come to Seton Hall in the first place, because Colorado is like a very white Caucasian state, and New Jersey has a bunch of different races, and Seton Hall especially is a diplomacy school and stuff like that.
I remember when I was like 6 years old, we went on this Orinoco River Delta cruise. We went down to like the native people of Venezuela. Like, I mean, native, like lived in the Amazon, don't contact with the outer world, don't really even wear clothes. And I just remember looking at their experiences, and you know, they had to go take a canoe to go find food if they ever wanted food. And you know, they had to kill, you know, they had to fish. They ate a lot of fish, piranha fishing primarily, and a lot of like bananas and plants and fruits like that. And I remember me and my sister, we brought a bunch of our toys, because we, you know, we're the Americans, so we have a lot of toys, especially compared to these kids, and we wanted to share it. And I remember my sister had this like plush Beanie Baby doll, and when you press the belly, it was like, I love you, man, you know, like one of those. And she gave it to a little girl, and the little girl like accidentally pressed the belly of the Beanie Baby, and it was just like, it went off, and the little girl like literally started crying, because she like didn't understand what was going on. She was terrified of it. And so it was just like, I don't know, it was one of the cooler things I've ever seen.
I mean, I would love to have somebody out of my race, and it's a great thing. But definitely, to be honest, there's going to be a little contingencies in the family, you know. I mean, my mom would look at me and say, where did you get her from?
But it's one of those things that it would just be difficult to see how we can relate culturally because our cultures are so different. They would object to it, I should say that. They would object to it strongly probably. They would want me to marry a Kenyan, ideally, because it's just easier to integrate and assimilate culturally.
But I do know that in this regard, my parents would not object to me exploring with people from other cultures or dating them or whatnot. The one thing that they always tell me is be sure that you're with someone who respects your integrity, who respects who you are as a person, someone who in no way undermines you. In that aspect, they do not mind if the person is of a different ethnic or religious background as long as my personal integrity is respected.
A person of a different race would not really fly in my family. I can't bring home a white guy. Most definitely, 100% cannot bring home a white guy. I couldn't even bring home somebody from a different country in Africa. I'm not even sure how it would go if I brought home somebody from a different tribe in Nigeria. It was made clear to me a very long time ago. You're expected to marry somebody of your same tribe. You're expected to date somebody of your same tribe, and you're expected to have purebred kids.
I wouldn't say they will be like, he's not allowed, but they will be okay with it, I think. They never told me like, oh, do not date a white guy. The only problem they've had me dating is like someone who's Haitian. Jamaicans don't like Haitian people.
So my first boyfriend ever, I was sophomore in high school and he was Caucasian. He never was with anyone that wasn't Caucasian, and I took him to a Filipino event. It's called Simbagabi, and it's where you celebrate Christmas. And there's this dish called lechon, and it's literally a roasted pig, like in its entirety. And I remember the face that he made when he saw it on the table was like indescribable. Like he was like, "You people do this?" Like, but it's like so normal to me because it's at every event that we have. Like,
there's always a great feeling in being familiar with what you can expect. Basically, being with someone from a culture similar to yours, to a culture that you're used to, somewhere where you feel welcome. So in this regard, I do admit that it might be a little bit difficult, say, dating someone who has lived in the United States all of their lives, because while it is highly likely that there is going to be a linguistic barrier, a cultural barrier, a musical barrier, because yes, Dominican Republic is the land of merengue, and that is the best thing to dance to.
I'm flexible, I listen to other kinds of music, but when I'm listening to African music, I'm in my zone. Nobody can, there's nothing else around me. And it's so much better to dance to, it's the best.
I love like older African music though, like fela and like the drum beats and like the stuff that traditional elders listen to. Like that's the stuff I'm into. A lot of newer African stuff sounds like club music, like all of it. I mean, that's dope to like hang out to and whatnot, but I miss the old stuff.
Oh, I love rap and hip hop. I love R&B. I love all of that. But in my free time, sometimes when I need to soothe my mind, I do listen to a lot of pop or sometimes country, not all the time.
Music-wise, I definitely listen to a little bit of everything. But I guess the two main groups I would focus on is like rap and R&B, and then some like rock and like some folk music and all that good stuff.
I mean, it doesn't make me any different from the people I see every day. I like to connect with people from all different parts of the world, especially being a diplomacy student. That's what I'm supposed to do. And, setting off with this this initiative, I really want to put out there is that all these cultures should come together and make something out of themselves and see themselves as one, and not this person is African, this person is German, or this person is Filipino. We don't want to see that. We want to see all of us as one body.